Hello everybody and welcome to the penultimate race in the iRacing Ring Runners for 2024. We're coming up to the end of Season 8 and we're here with the Radical sr8s again on the longest version of the Nurburgring Nord Cypher for the final time this season. It's myself, Ian and James Parfitt taking you through this penultimate round, and James, it's a very interesting championship situation. It is so close, this race is going to matter a lot in terms of the points.
Absolutely. And there's only 12 drivers in the session, so everybody that's here needs to make sure that they can get to the end. Now, I don't know if you've ever driven the sr8s round Nords before, but we have watched multiple broadcasts. There's a lot of things that can go wrong in this car. If we get all 12 to the end of the race, I will be very surprised.
I think that goes for any car around here, to be honest, but especially this one.
This one, yeah.
We'll see what we get. Let's have a look at the points going forward. This is with 2 drop weeks applied. We'll have the full ones next time with 3, of course. Corey Stas is leading the way by 6 points ahead of Rick Putnam. Jason Hightower and Evan Crowder are not too far behind either. 11 points separating those top 4. Dave Mull's not even that far back either. He's 20 back in 5th place. Dave Hernandez next, and then you get to those who are not really in contention. Matt Green, Dean Diltz, Aaron Smith, Pat Labrosse, Patrick Elstrand and Ray Tew. Not that those guys can't win races, as Patrick Elstrand showed in the TCRs, I think it was, but they're not in contention for the championship. Only 2 really in contention here in the AMs. It's Dan Kosick versus Scott Sadler. Just 2 points separate them with 2 drops applied. Tim Washoe is 3rd ahead of Chase Petterjohn and Dylan Hesslink, rounding out the top 5. Pat Mace is 6th ahead of Alexander Bettas. Jamie Bender, Anthony Sereno and Anthony Solomon rounding up the top 10. AJ Condon just outside with Tim Teng, Jim Cunningham, Stephen Johnson and Bradley Lovings rounding out the AM field. So, as I say, there are only a few left in contention now, and that was with 2 drop weeks applied. If you apply 3, Putnam's a little bit further ahead, so even though Stas is leading the way, it is on him to gain some points, and he's on the front row alongside Pat Labrosse here in the sr8s. It's Matt Green and Jason Hightower on row 2 ahead of Dean Diltz, who rounds out the top 5. Pat Mesher's got pole in AM, who's the only driver to set a time. Dave Mull was the last driver to set a time overall, with Rick Putnam then next. He didn't get a time in, neither did Dan Kosick, Chase Petterjohn, Scott Sadler, Dylan Hesslink. That's your 12 in the field. So, a good start for Stas, I think it's fair to say. As I say, he does need to gain some points on Putnam. Can he retain those positions, though, as he starts today? If you apply 3 drop weeks, 17 points behind, and that doesn't sound like a lot, but it actually is. It is really, when you consider that in terms of race points, it's 1 point per position, and it can be quite difficult to gain points. So, Stas needs to finish ahead of Putnam pretty simply here today to really be in contention and Duck Week in a couple of days' time.
This championship is very, very exciting indeed. I don't think people can realise how close this actually is, to be honest. With the 3 drops added, there is not a lot of difference. So it's basically Stats got to beat Putnam, which at the moment he is obviously ahead because we've only just got going. But I think going forward, it's going to be seeing who can get this car to the end. They hit a curb with this car, they're done. Let's put it that way. It does not like the curbs around the full Nord circuit whatsoever. So hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen, because this is going to be a bit of an interesting one.
Certainly is. And with Evan Crowder not here, we already know how many points he's going to score. It will be 23 from the day, as far as I'm just checking I'm actually correct. Yes, it is 23. That's a 9th place finish with 1 bonus point. So effectively an 8th place finish, we can call it. And so if either of them finish in the top 8, we know that they'll be gaining points on Evan Crowder in the day. Of course, don't forget to add Jason Hightower into that, who is involved. Dave Mull as well. If you count those top 5 who I was talking about at the top of the show, they're 40 points separated. You can score a maximum of 38 on a day. So Mull does need to gain some points on absolutely everybody to even be in contention. But even so, it is very, very close indeed. And of course, can't forget about Dan Kosick and Scott Sadler, who are back in the pack here. They didn't qualify in this round, and so they are starting directly behind one another, if you like, on one side of the grid. I think they're on the inside, but they're directly They're directly behind one another. And it'll be very interesting indeed to see who comes out on top there in a very close battle indeed. Let's see what we get into here in the sr8 round of the tail racing. Ring runners, it's Pat Labrosse who's on the pole ahead of Corey Stas, and he's going to wait. We've seen some people go very early indeed this season. He's going to wait a long time indeed. Long pause before the start of this race, and he is going to pretty much wait for the start-finish line. Goodness me. Does he know he's in control? No, he does. He's off. And does, somewhat surprisingly, get a bit of a jump over Corey Stas, considering he was running out of time to launch there, down the inside. Oh, and there's very nearly contact there. That was very close down the inside, but they all get through quite nicely. Labrosse will lead ahead of Corey Stas, who spins. Oh, Corey Stas has gone for a spin just when he could least afford it in this championship. He was second at the time. He's gone for a spin at turn 2, and that is a disaster for Corey Stas.
Yeah, not a good start for Stas. He's going to have to try and come back through the field. He's going to have to qually lap. But I can tell you what, Pat Labrosse out in front by 2.6 seconds. Patrick Misek in behind him there with Putnam, Matt Green, Dave Mould, Chase Pettijohn, Dan Kosick and Scott Sadler. We know how important this is, and at the moment, Kosick is in front of Sadler.
Yeah, that would put them pretty much level, to be honest, on points. If Kosick finishes ahead of Sadler, they'll be pretty much level on points next week. It's going to be a remarkably close championship, no matter what happens there. Rick Putnam has gotten through on Pat Mace as well. That's 6 places gained for Rick Putnam on just the opening lap, as Pat Mace is struggling up the hill here, out of the hairpin. He's gotten overtaken now by Green as well, who's up to 3rd. And Dave Mull will surely be coming up quick as well now, but no, he can't get through on Mace. What a start for Rick Putnam, up to 2nd place already after a pretty disastrous qualifying. He didn't get a lap time in at all, and now he is in 2nd place. 6 places gained just on the Grand Prix circuit.
Yeah, he's done an amazing job. Absolutely amazing job. Absolutely flying is Putnam, and he's got 3.66 seconds over behind Pat Labrosse at the moment, and we're not even off the Grand Prix circuit yet, just going into the full Nords now. Dylan Hesselink has had a bit of a nightmare down further back as well. Corey Stas trying to clear Sadler. Oh, there's a 4-car pile-up. Stas is in the
Corey Stas
pits.
has gone back to the lane. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Corey Stas is back to the lane. And this could be a really defining moment in this championship, I'm afraid, for Corey Stas, who is going to be losing points when he could really not afford to do so. Putnam suddenly in a great position here. Look at Kosick and Sadler here, by the way. We're following them in the battle for 4th. They've gained 5 and 6 places respectively. If you started in the top half, it's very likely you've had a very bad start here, other than Pat Labrosse, who's still leading.
Yeah, it does. Everybody looks like they've dropped down further down behind that. You can see all the bottom half, Green, Hightower, Mole, and Dilts, and Stas, all losing positions. So everybody below that has gained immensely. But this is where... This is the thing with this car, right? The draft in this car is really, really strong. So Sadler has got to stay with Kosick. You can see the gap behind the Green coming at us like an absolute rapid rates and knots here. And he's going to gain absolutely loads of time. The draft in the sr8 is incredibly strong. Save it for the dot and a hoe. You cannot be risking it for a biscuit anywhere else, really, unless you can get the run up into the carousel section. But even then, that's dodgy at the best of times.
It certainly is, although getting it into the carousel and staying there can be a problem as well. We'll see how that plays out when we get to it. One other thing to note, by the way, and I'm sure everyone will have noticed it at home as well, it feels quite dark today in the sim. Don't know what's going on, but we don't normally get dark conditions like this. Nearly 9 p.m. in May, so that's why it's still light, I suppose. Yeah, this could be a quite dark race actually by the end here.
And there's no lights. there's nothing.
They've got headlights.
They've got headlights, yeah, but I mean track lights. They've literally got nothing. So they're going to have to just make sure that they know where they're going, I suppose, would be the obvious thing.
I hope they do. You'd imagine they do it after all this time. That they do know what they're doing, but you never know. We'll see how they get on when we get to that. Chase Pettijohn's very close to Dave Mull, by the way, as well, here for 8th place. There'll be a lot of replays to go through at the end, as always. If you've been with us before, we'll run through them at the end, and there's plenty to watch even from lap 1 at the moment. Dave Mull dropping down to 8th place has sort of caught me off guard, to be honest. He's down 1 position off of his start, but he's down a lot compared to where he was after the Grand Prix circuit, or after the most part of the Grand Prix circuit. So that's an interesting one to see. And Dan Kosick under pressure again here for 4th place. Look at Green crawling all over the back of Sadler as well, who's sort of in the middle here, looking forwards and behind. In towards Bergwerk they go. And that's a good run for Green. Very good. Oh, and he's almost run straight into the back of Sadler there. That was pretty close. Now he's running right the way around the outside through Kesselson. And it looks like Sadler's just going to back off slightly. Maybe for the best, really. But he backs off here, and Green goes through. So he gets into the slipstream of Kosick now. Can the pro driver take these AMs in one? That would be helpful. Can he do it, though? Up the inside into Muckkerver. He's going to get to the inside, and surely he's going to be... Oh, no, he's not. Kosick wants to hold on to the place. He wants to keep Green in between himself and his main rival.
Yeah, he backed out. Matt Green backed out of that one, did not even think about trying to go up the insides, but Sadler's holding on to him as well. You can see that how quick that was. Matt Green making up Scott Sadler like he was stood still, went after Kosick, backed out towards the end. Probably erring on the side of caution, I would have thought, for Matt Green, because that, again, can be a very, very hairy run.
Certainly can.
Hesslink's in the pit lane as well.
Yeah, I saw him off the road earlier. Didn't know why, but I think we know now why. We'll see later on, as always. Green gets very close to Kosick here through Horak. This is the highest point on the circuit, and bouncing over the curbs, Kosick. Look at that for Green. It's not a normal place to go for it, but he felt he had to. Side by side down the hill. Can he get through now? Yes. Kosick on the outside was going to feed himself into the wall if he wasn't careful, and so he has to back off. And there goes Matt Green up the road. 4th place for him. Ahead of Dan Kosick, then Scott Sadler, who will now fight for 5th place. Doesn't really matter what position they're fighting for. They're only focusing on each other. And as I mentioned earlier, if Kosick beats Sadler, they'll be pretty much equal on points going into next round.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very tight indeed for them two. They're going to be literally neck and neck here. We've got Dave Mole, Chase Petterjohn and Dean Diltz having a scrap further down. Chase has just got a great run. Is he going to be able to make it through? Currently at the moment, Mole, to be honest with you, I would wait. You're so close to the dotting a hoe. You might as well wait for the run out on that one, because otherwise you're going to be jeopardising yourself. And through here, not ideal.
No. Through they go. Here's Petterjohn, the closest here to Mull, although you'd imagine Dave Mull would be okay to run away here. As I mentioned earlier, Mull needed to gain points today, and unfortunately he's not doing that just for the moment. Neither is Jason Hightower, who's going to fall a little bit further back as well. But don't forget, Duck Week cannot be dropped. So you've got to bear that in mind, because you've got to have a good race next week. Corey Stas can't do this again, for example, in next week's race, or indeed tomorrow's race, as we record this. Through the Galvencroft corner they go, and that was a bit wide for Chase Petterjohn. He was almost too close to Dave Mull there. Dean Diltz is going to really close in as a result. Look at this. Despite Petterjohn's slipstream off of Mull, Diltz is going to get through anyway. Now he needs to make sure he drafts past him so he can get back into line again, and he does. Needed to get clear there so he could get the slipstream of Mull, otherwise Petterjohn would have come straight back past him again. But Diltz is going to have the double slipstream, the double slingshot. I'm not sure the straight's quite long enough for him to get them both, but it's going to get him pretty close. 4.5 temps, closes further down the hill, and they're all closing on Jason Hightower as well, who is getting that distant slipstream. He's not getting anyone from him ahead of him though, and so this could be a big battle for 7th place before we know it, as Jason Hightower gets closed in on by Dave Mullen and Dean Diltz and Chase Petterjohn at the very back of the field as well. Yeah, we've got a 4-car fight, and you can see people are not very far up the road. Sadler's dropped back from Kosick by 1.8. Kosick's in there with Matt Green. The front 3 are away and gone. Labrosse 4 seconds up the road from Putnam. Masig in there from 7 seconds back from that. And then we've got Matt Green and Dan Kosick. But for Scott Sadler, it's imperative he gets closer. He needs to get a decent run on him if he can. Hightower's now under pressure from Dean Diltz. Lap 2 of 4, of course. 4 laps as always. And at the moment, lap 1 done. 2 in the pit. Stas and Dylan Hesselink. I saw Dave Mull and Jason Hightower going side by side, I think it was. And now Mull is miles behind. They've had an incident. Dave Mull and Chase Petterjohn. Yeah, I thought so. So again, we'll have a replay later, but yes, that was a big group developing there for 7th place, and it's all dissipated very quickly indeed. Hightower seems to be on the back foot for the moment. Not sure why he's struggling so much, but he is now with Dean Dilts right behind him. On board we go. Very understeery at low speed, this car, it looks like anyway, as he makes his way through. Now on board with Dilts, he'll be much better through here. There you go, fast
Hightower
chicane.
Well, that was
all over the place,
yeah. Look,
I don't know why. It's very unlike him, really. But maybe he's got some form of damage or something. I don't know. But it even looks from this camera angle, to be honest, we're not even on board with him, but it looks from here like he's got a lot of understeer. I thought it was just because they were going low speed. This car doesn't have very much mechanical grip, so at low speed it won't be very good anyway. But he does look like he's struggling a lot with understeer. Let's have a look through here, through the fast chicane. It's just a bit wider than Dilts, which is a bit strange since we're riding on board with the one with dirty air. Could be going wider ourselves here, but no, Hightower's using all of the road. Maybe he does that anyway, but he doesn't look especially comfortable, I've got to say.
He doesn't look like he's got that thing hooked up at this moment in time, Jason Hightower, and normally he's fairly smooth and capable, but it looks like the SR8 might be giving Hightower a little bit of grief here to try and manage this car. It is a car that you have to make sure you can get some practice in, right? You hop into it and jump in it, then you're liable to be in the wall. But if anybody's driven Nords in the SR8, and I have done hundreds of times, you need to make sure that you've got this hooked up and you know what you're doing with it, because otherwise you look a little bit raggedy, like Hightower's looking at the moment over lap 2. Maybe it might get better as he goes through 3 and 4.
Let's see. He's certainly pulling a bit of a gap now, but I'm not sure. Maybe it is damage. He was losing a lot of time on the dotting her last time round to those behind him. Dave Mull, I think, was leading the line ahead of Dean Dilts. So, excuse me. So yes, I wonder whether there is a bit of damage there. Maybe that was affecting his straight line speed and is affecting his cornering as well. But no idea, to be honest. I mean, if anything, Dilts looks more damaged. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the sort of crunching of the rear left. He hasn't got a rear left tail light, I don't think, anymore, because it's so crunched in. It's pretty difficult to see from some angles, but he's clearly been hit by someone around the place, and it's not affecting him too much. There it is. It doesn't look quite right. And of course, he's down 3 places compared to where he qualified, but for some reason, that's not affecting him very much.
I do wonder if that was out of the lap 1 incident going into Nords, though. I do wonder if there was a check-up, and unfortunately, Dilts got a little bit of a bump behind, so maybe that is a scenario. Again, we will have a look back at that a little bit later on at the end as we're on lap 2. Quite quick lap times, 8 minutes, not very long whatsoever to wait. But at the moment, Dilts is closing in on Hightower. This is the closest battle on the racetrack. You can see on the left-hand side. It nearly wasn't the closest battle on the race circuit.
It is. It will remain for the moment. Green is catching Mesh, by the way, so that might well be a change coming up for 3rd place pretty soon. And Corey Stas and Dylan Hesslinger both made their way out, by the way, for 11th place. Stas will be hoping that he can catch those 14 seconds in the remaining 2.5 laps of this race. It's 3 laps for them because they're only just out the pit lane now. He will be hoping to gain that extra point. But even if he does, it doesn't matter. This would become his drop week, and the Pro Mazda race would be counted instead. Otherwise, because that's the lowest score that currently counts, if you see what I mean. So the Pro Mazda score from 2 weeks ago will suddenly count. That's effectively a 8th place finish, that score. So that's effectively what we're looking at. Stas effectively finishing 8th today, ahead of, or behind Putnam, I should say. That would be at least 6 points lost. Stas obviously won't get the bonus points for leading laps or indeed 0x, and maybe not even fastest lap as well, though we'll see about that. So Putnam could be gaining as many as 9 points today, which would be huge.
Yeah, absolutely will be. Sorry, I was just watching Dilts' run up here, and he was closing on Hightower at a rapid rate of knots. He did lift halfway up on that, so maybe he's erring on the side of caution. Misek and Matt Green, they've been swapping places a couple of times. They swapped places 4 times on the run up into the carousel, but at the moment let's get off on that one. No offense, Pat, but Yeah, you're blinking. So this battle is taking shape, and we got the high tower. Dilts has managed to get through on him. We will have a look at that. I do wonder whether or not that was up through the carousel, and for high tower, he popped out on that one.
Maybe, yeah, that's true. That's a common place to do it, unfortunately. Green is also through on most, as we say, so third place now for Green, and all the pros are in the top three together. I tell you what, I've been very pleasantly surprised, actually, by Pat Labrosse's speed since the race sort of calmed down here. He is 5.7 seconds ahead of Rick Putnam now, and, you know, I know he got a big lead off the start because of everything that went on through turn two. However, he, since then, has continued to pull away from the rest of the field, which is very impressive indeed. Ahead of Rick Putnam, who's been the best driver of the season so far as a result of his leading the championship. So, very impressive from Pat Labrosse in only his second appearance of the season. And guess what he did in the other appearance? He went and won with a full 38 points. So, there you go. Pat Labrosse is looking like he's going to do that again, very possibly, as we ride on board with Jason Hightower chasing back Dean Dilts again, trying to earn back that 7th place again.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be doing what he just did, though. Unfortunately, ran a little bit wide, ended up on the grass on the outside. And it's really weird here because the grass can act in a way like Velcro, and it just seems to hold you and pull you in. And then all of a sudden, you're in the barrier on the right-hand side. Now, obviously, there's no runoffs once you go through the Nords. It's literally is what it is, and that's it. So he needs to be a little bit careful for Hightower and whether or not this is where he's going to close in. You see already the draft at half a second is mighty.
Yeah, it is. Even at just over a second, Jason Hightower is getting closed in on, but surely he's going to be side by side by the bridge here. Might even be through by then as they stop going downhill and start plunging now uphill towards that bridge. Hightower's making a bit of hard work of this in the slipstream. Oh, he's edging towards him, and now finally he'll pull alongside. As they go under the bridge, they are side by side. Down the other side of the hill, he should use that extra speed. Oh, he squeezes Dilts over to the left-hand side. They're still side by side. It's flat out through here, so they can do it. And on the brakes, Dilts around the outside gets it back again. Hightower forced to just slow himself up so he doesn't slide straight into the side of Dean Dilts, and Dilts defends that 7th place in the end quite well.
Yeah, fair play to Dean Dilts. He held his line. He wasn't doing anything dramatic. He didn't try and squeeze him, which he had the rights to do. He literally gave him the space to run, and Hightower just didn't have nothing. And again, we've seen this multiple times at Nords when we've talked about it. The gearing and everything else, the setup, the whole thing comes into play when they're running. So if each man's got a different I think it's standard that they've gotten long, I think, is the ones that are available. And if they're running different and they're running different wing, that's where the issue lies. That's why Hightower didn't have nothing until we started going towards the Bilston.
Yep. It's been a bit of a struggle for Jason Hightower today, unfortunately. 8th place currently for him. And so, with that, no battles within a second of each other. Corey Stas has overtaken Dylan Hesselink right away around the other part of the circuit. He's a lot quicker than Hesselink, as shown by the fact he was 15 seconds behind him at the start of the lap, and we're not even near the end of it yet, and he's already through. So he's clearly a lot more comfortable. He will be bitterly disappointed with how this race has gone, Corey Stas. I mean, what an opportunity he had. 2nd place with Putnam not qualifying, starting down in 7th, or 8th place, excuse me. And Corey Stas threw it away, really, at the second corner. Yeah,
it did. It was his moment. It was that one thing, that one job he had to do, get to the end, and stay in front. And unfortunately, it puffed like Harry Potter up a chimney.
Yeah, so that is championship charge gone. Well, maybe going into today with 3 drop rounds, he was 17 points behind. As I mentioned, it's effectively going to be an 8th place finish for him here. So that's 6 points lost. And that's before we've even seen who's going to get the best lap. Although Pat Labrosse is going to be difficult to beat on that front. 6.2 seconds the gap for Pat Labrosse as he tries to win his 2nd race of the season. What a fantastic drive it's been so far, just over the halfway mark.
Yeah, he's done a great job, hasn't he? He got out in front and he's just pulled away. 6.2 at the moment. He doesn't look like he's in real much trouble. We'll stay on board with him for a part of this lap, give him a little bit of airtime for being out in front by absolutely loads of time. And you can just see he looks a lot more comfortable. I think if you jump from him to Hightower, you would see the difference in the motion of the wheel, the movement, the struggle. And I think Labrosse has just got this hooked up, and he's doing a great job.
He's doing a fantastic job. Still leading this race. The other race, by the way, I referenced it earlier on, the other race he won was in the Mustang, the FR15.
500.
The FR500S, I should say, the Mustang. So a very different car to this one, I've got to say, for him to have appeared at. Very bizarre indeed. But there you go. They decide which ones they want to do, I suppose. It's the beauty of this series. You can pick and choose which cars you want to drive and which ones you don't. And Labrosse has picked two that he might well go on win with. Just less than a second between a couple of the drivers now, as Chase Petterjohn is caught by Dave Mull now, and that might well be a battle that goes the way of Mull, but he's going to have to, of course, do the overtake eventually. Dilts and Sadler are not too far apart either. That could be quite an important defence there for Scott Sadler to hold on to 6th place.
Yeah, it did come. It has just popped back down again below a second, and it's teetering on that mark. So we will keep an eye on it. I think Mull and Petterjohn is going to be the closest one for a minute, and I think they're going to be, for Dave Mull, it's the imperative he goes through. This is the thing, isn't it, for him? He's clearly got pace over Petterjohn, but he just wants to make sure he can use it properly.
Yeah, you'd imagine that this might well be the last overtake he can make, so he better do it properly, otherwise
Game over.
He'll get himself into a bit of trouble. So we'll see how much time he takes over this. Down in towards the siphon they go, and that was a slide. Saves it. And he'll close in, actually, on Petterjohn, who went a bit wide himself. But that was a heart-in-mouth moment for Mull, as Dean Dilts suddenly is right over the back of Sadler. Oh, dear, what's gone on between those two?
Sadler's had a crash.
Oh, my goodness. Scott Sadler, who was leading the AM
Dilts.
Championship coming into this, is backwards. And meanwhile, Mull gets past Petterjohn through the chaos. Dave Mull gets through round the outside before Bergberg, and he's through. But look at that for Scott Sadler. He's down to 9th. Clearly, there must have been something that went on with Dean Dilts there, because suddenly back to pit lane as well. And look at that. Sadler's got big damage. Can he continue?
No.
It doesn't look like he can. And Scott Sadler goes back to pit lane.
That is massive. Massive for Sadler. Going to be interested now with it to see how the points come out on where they're going to sit once the free drop weeks are added and how close they're going to be. But Mull at the moment with Petterjohn wrapped up there again. Obviously, we'll have a look back a little bit later on at what went on. It looked like a little bit of carnage.
And Mace has made a mistake somewhere, and Dan Kosick suddenly leads. Oh, it's a spin at the style striker for Pat Mesh, who was leading in the AMs, and he had been for some time. Now Dan Kosick leads. He's up into 4th place. It's all of a sudden falling into place for Dan Kosick, who at the start of the day was just 3 points behind Scott Sadler, and he's gaining a lot more than that right now, as meanwhile Dave Mull consolidates that place over Chase Petterjohn out the carousel.
Yeah, he did. He got a great run through, and now he's managing to hold on to it. But Petterjohn's got to just stay close, I think, that down into the dot and hoe, and he should get him back there as well for him. But yeah, Dilts, Sadler in pit lane. Hesselink in there as well at the moment. Stas has moved himself up into 9th. But it kind of unravelled, and it unravelled quite quickly.
It unravelled very quickly indeed. That is a real shame for Scott Sadler, especially who is now going to be quite a long way back in the championship. We'll do the maths of that a little bit later when things calm down just a little bit. But what a shame. I mean, we'll see the replay at the end. If that was self-inflicted, he'll be absolutely furious with himself to have thrown that away going into the last round. And, well, what a big moment. Dan Kosick has got to take advantage of this now and finish in 4th place, gain as much as he possibly can from this one. And I'm sure he'll be trying to do that over the next few laps.
Yeah, I think for him, it's keep it on the racetrack, stay ahead of Hightower and reap the rewards at the end. He's been given an opportunity now. It's only whether or not he's actually going to take it. That's the thing, because as we know here at Lords, anything can happen. So for Kosick, it's imperative that he just keeps it on the track. He has to keep it on the racetrack. He needs them points.
And also probably needs the point for 0x as well. I don't know if you can tell whether he's got an incident point or not, but you get a bonus point for that.
Yeah, he's not registering any at the moment as an off-track.
Okay.
Obviously, we only see off-tracks. I don't see contact.
Yeah.
I don't see contact, only off-tracks.
Now we've got to rack our brains and remember whether he has actually hit someone.
It doesn't look like he's got any damage, and normally it's quite noticeable in the SR8, isn't it?
And also, you would get the for anything very slight, you would get a 0x, I suppose, as well. So you would be looking for that sort of damage, as you say, for it to be registered as an incident point. So it looks like Kosick may well get that. He's got the AM fastest lap as well at the moment. He gets a point for the AM win as well. You get the idea. We're starting to run out of fingers here, counting how many bonus points he's got. You get a lot in the AM class. And, of course, effectively, Sadler finishing in 11th. That would be a drop round. If he can just get out the pit lane and finish 10th out of Dean Dilts, then he would gain himself a point, I suppose. But even so, it would be a big loss. As Pat Mace comes into pit lane, not sure what's happened for him. Of course, he spun on this last lap, we know that. But did he get any damage? I didn't see any.
That I can't answer. We'll have to have a look back at the end. But he has definitely been off the side of the circuit. Pat Labrosse, final lap. 7.5 seconds out in front. Not really a lot that we can say about Pat, apart from, well done.
It's been very quick indeed. Another fastest lap of the race for him last time round. And that's a 8:04.1, 1.3 seconds quicker than Rick Putnam, who he ran away from again on that lap. Pat Moose, by the way, is still in pit lane. He must have damage because it's been in there for a little while now. Corey Stas, if he can get up to 8th place, would be very pleased indeed with that. That would effectively mean that this round would suddenly count again. And that's probably a good thing for him, but he's still a long way behind, of course. He's still going on though. There's a lot of damaged cars down there on pit lane at the moment for him to overtake, possibly.
Yeah, if they're going to be in there, if they've all towed, right, we know generally tow time, depending where you are on the circuit, can be 7 to 9 minutes, give or take. So it depends on where they are. Even it's really weird, actually, because even next to the pit lane, you still end up with a 5-minute tow, to be blatantly honest with you. But obviously, it is what it is here, and depends on where they towed from and what the tow time is. You might find Stas actually might jump up into 8th with Pat still in pit lane. He's just started I believe he's just started his pit stop. So Stas, keep going. You never know what might happen.
Mesh drove in, by the way, as far as I know. I thought he drove in. But anyway, let's see how long he stays there. He might have a lot of damage anyway.
He did drive in, actually. But as we know, these cars are like cardboard, aren't they? And at the end of the day, it could be literally any damage at all. Let's see if we can see any on there.
It doesn't look like any to me. Very bizarre. He's got a map of America and some form of other logo on the front of his donuts car. So there you go. But he's on pit lane for no apparent reason at the moment, as Dave Mullen, Chase Petterjohn battle away for 6th place again here. This is, of course, a pro versus an AM. And actually, Chase Petterjohn is currently in 2nd place in his class all of a sudden. That's a real turnaround for him after all that's gone on in the last few moments.
Yeah, it just goes to show how things can spin on their head, isn't it, really, at this circuit? And I think that's the thing that we've been watching here. It just goes to show how unpredictable racing actually is, because it's just flipped. You know, Stas is down in 10th. Who would have thought it? Sadler having an incident. You know, it can just go any which way. And I think this is the wonderful things of motorsport that we enjoy so much.
It's been a very bizarre race. Scott Sadler's making his way back out on the circuit again, by the way. Dean Dilts has already done so. He's up to 8th place. Sadler's going to be pretty close to Stas, actually. Although he'll just get out ahead of him. And he will be 9th, Sadler. So, actually, that's a pretty important stop there that he's done. And he's on the last lap now. He needs to hang on from Stas. Now, I know the gap looks large at the moment, but actually it won't be very big, really, when you consider Sadler is making his way. That will normalise. When you consider he's making his way out of the pit lane here. And don't forget, Stas caught over 15 seconds to Dylan Hesslink in under a lap. So don't count that out just yet at all. Scott Sadler needs that 9th place for his championship so that he can make this round count and keep the losses to Dan Kosick at a minimum today. But at the very least, we know this much: Dan Kosick will be the championship leader at the end of the day.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to listen how Chelsea... That corner is very, very difficult. It's very difficult. You've got to get it down in one gear, then you've got to get it rotated to get on the brakes again and get it down another couple to get it round the corner. So I've seen a lot of people torpedo the barrier. I've seen a lot of people spin the car out. They've changed down too many at the beginning. So that was a very difficult corner for Pettyjohn, and he absolutely nailed it, which was great to see. But I think Sadler at the moment, as you say, he's got to stay in front, but he is losing time. It was about 16 seconds when he come out of pit lane. By the time it's normalised, it's down to 13.5. Well, you can see it dropping on the left-hand side. You don't need me to tell you. But it's all the way going to be down at 13 very, very shortly. So he's going to have to try and get on his bike a little bit.
He will. Be a pretty nervy last lap for him. That'll be a 1-point loss for him if he indeed does suffer that. Of course, we can forget about the other bonus points that he might get. I don't think he'll be getting any at the end of the day. Although it's very rare that actually in AM you get through the end of a day without getting any bonus points. So not sure where there would be one coming from, to be honest. But anyway, we'll see for him when we get to the end, as in towards the Styles track they come. Dave Mull and Chase Pettyjohn, and that will be that. Dave Mull will hold on to 6th place by the looks of things, because Pettyjohn's got on the power too early and he's spun himself around very nearly, at least into a half spin. He's now 4 seconds behind on the last lap. Not far indeed. Just 9.4 seconds his gap over Rick Putnam, and just his 2nd appearance of the season. Sometimes these drivers make you wonder what would have happened if they'd have been here all season long. The likes of Aaron Smith, who made 2 appearances so far, finished 1st in one race and 2nd in the other. Labrossa, who I mentioned, has only had 1 and won 1. Patrick Eldstrand as well, just 1 race and won 1 as well. Does make you wonder, but a fantastic drive from here in the SR8. Clearly very comfortable in this car as the sun sets at the Nordschleife. He's not only did he get the pole position, and I know he got a big lead early on, however, he's consolidated that lead very well indeed, and he's dominated here.
There's not enough superlatives you can really say about Pat Labrosse, is there? He came, he saw, he conquered, he left, and took the trophy with him. Pretty much.
He certainly has. Down the hill he goes, just under the bridge, and into the final few corners. The Mustang was his last race. That was just on the Nordschleife itself. This time on the combined long layout. He's risen to the fore again. Pat Labrosse wins in the SR8 here in the Tvail Racing Ring Runners at the penultimate round of the season. A dominant display from Pat Labrosse. Further behind, Rick Putnam is going to be the championship leader by some margin in the pro standings. A fantastic drive from him to finish in 2nd place despite starting down in 8th. Most of those overtakes coming on the opening lap of the day. Matt Green will join them on the podium. Dan Kosick, meanwhile, will come over the line behind him, and he will be the new AM Championship leader coming out of today, gaining 5 positional points on Scott Sadler and a few more in terms of bonuses as well. His lead will be around 5 or under 5, but it is a championship lead, and he will be able to take that into Duck Week in a couple of days' time.
Yeah, for him, he's probably capitalised the most, along with Putnam, hasn't he, really, out of this, with the incidents that's taken shape. Jason Hightower did manage to get to the end, looking a little bit raggedy early on, but managed to get that car over the line. Dave Mull as well. And then here comes Chase Pettyjohn, finishing in 2nd in his class. So great job for Chase.
Fantastic to finish in 2nd. And then there's a bit of a wait back to Dean Diltz, who should finish in 8th. But will Scott Sadler hang on from Corey Stas? I know the gap at 9 seconds feels like that's never going to come down, but it was 16 at the start of the lap. We're probably over halfway through, aren't we? So even if he does lose time at the same rate, he will probably still finish in ninth place. But, he can't afford an error here. And that was a bit of a bobble through the carousel. 8.8 seconds. Stas will be closing because he needs it for the championship points as well. And that's a much better run through the carousel. You can see the gap coming down on the exit as a result. This is going to be fairly close. And Sadler's going to be very nervous. He's all over the place. This car is not fully repaired. He will have probably certainly taken the required repairs, if indeed there were any. And he's certainly not taken all the optionals.
Oh, it's very slow.
I think he went out the pit lane. He is going fairly slowly by his standards. I think he came out the pit lane with what he thought to be enough of a gap to hold on from Corey Stas for the remainder of the race. Now, he knew that if he come up behind him, he was never going to re-overtake him, even if he had a fully working car. So he just gave himself about 15 seconds or so. I can hang on to this if I come out the pit lane with a damaged car. And at the moment, the gamble is paying off.
Yeah, it is. He's 7.3. It needs to come down a lot more. But he has got a couple of difficult corners to go. The jump's going to be one of them. Can he nail this all the way round? Stay off the curb there, sir. Now go for it. Hug the left-hand side. Left. There's a bump there that shoots you up. 7.1. He should be okay. I'd say that in an apprehensive term because there's still a couple of corners that can literally decimate him before he gets it.
And he didn't enjoy the big carousel. I can't imagine he's going to enjoy the small one either in a few moments' time. Here he goes in towards the left-hander. Brakes a bit earlier. Dives in quite early. Oh, that was quite nicely done, actually. Well done. So
6 seconds.
He looks like he will hang on. 6.6. A very good gamble, I've got to say. Good thinking from Sadler. Obviously needed to take the required repairs, but also thought, well, I don't need all these optionals. My car will work, and I just need to give myself enough of a gap to hang on. Dean Diltz, meanwhile, is going to hang on to 8th place after his pit stop, so that's a nice return for him, although not his best race of the season, of course. That came back in the F4s a long time ago now. That was at the start of October when he finished on the podium. 8th place for him tonight, though, ahead of Scott Sadler. And there's the gap, just over 5 seconds. Fantastic gamble from Sadler, who is going to be rewarded with a single point based on where he would have been before. But they all matter.
Something's better than nothing. Something is better than nothing for Scott Sadler. He's going to come out. Can he just get through? Please get through the last couple of calls. Mate, we've seen it with Jason Hightower, trust me. Last lap, final quarter of Tiergarten, he smashed his car up. And he was in the lead. So there we go. But Sadler does manage to hang on. 3.9 seconds in the end.
Didn't we see someone run out of fuel as well down there early on the season? I'm thinking the TCRs maybe, yeah.
We've seen quite a lot here, Mr. O'Leary, this season.
We have.
You know what I mean?
We've seen it all, really. Let's have a look at the results at the end of this race, though. Pat Labrosse wins by 9.8 seconds ahead of Rick Putnam, with Matt Green nearly half a minute back. Dan Kosick takes a big win in the AMS ahead of Jason Hightower, who rounds out the top 5. Dave Mull finishes 6th, last driver within a minute. Then Chase Petterjohn. Then there was that big gap back to those who did make a stop in the race. Dean Diltz finishing 8th ahead of Scott Sadler, whose gamble paid off there to finish ahead of Corey Stas. Both of those losing ground in their respective championship fights, though. Pat Mish and Dylan Hessling didn't get to the finish. So, before I tell you about the point situation after this round, because we already have them, I will, or let's run through the replays, I should say. And there's plenty to look at, especially early on here.
Yeah, there is. This is where it all went wrong a little bit for Corey Stas. Now, I'm just going to have to go back a little bit further on that one because for some reason it didn't like the beginning of this. So we're going to be looking at, we really want to go in with, where are we? Sadler around about there, I think it kind of kicked off. Chase Petterjohn on the hard, on the brakes there. That's Dean Diltz, isn't it?
Yeah, and slightly strange for Corey Stas, actually, because, he made contact with someone there. Yeah. So again, slightly strange for Stas there because there was space on the inside, but he broke too late and so it went straight on down there. It's a move from Diltz down the inside, a rather rash move, I've got to say, down the inside. And so everyone was caught up in all that. And that's where the likes of Rick Putnam and so on slipped through down on the inside there. And Dan Kosick as well. Slipped through on the inside, gaining all those positions in one go.
Yeah, and that was kind of it for Stas. Not really. Oh, ow.
Oh my goodness me. Wow.
Dylan Hessling just literally turned his car into a hovercraft there. I've got this registered as Dave Mole Chase Petterjohn.
Yes.
To see what went on.
Yeah, this is the side by side. Oh, and that's that's what happened. Big spin, and there at turn 1. I thought there was actually contact, but it was just a big spin down there in a battle that we were just seeing in the background, but not focusing quite on at the time. But there you go. He's left some tyre marks on the circuit at turn 1 there. This is Hessling again, is it?
Yeah, Hessling again. Had another moment a little bit further down. That back end's coming round, unfortunately, for Dylan on that one. Now, this is the Dean Dilts Scott Sadler incident that we caught up and said about there. Oh, there you go.
Sadler did it to himself.
Yep.
Oh, no. Scott Sadler will be furious with himself. Oh, dear, oh, dear. He must get on the outside curve or something.
No, he just missed it.
Not really. Wow. I mean, if you ever were unsure as to how this car can bite, then there's your confirmation. But that was an unforced error for Scott Sadler. Well, he was ahead of Dan Cosick, or just in behind him, I should say. But either way, he was in a good position at the time, and that's where it all started to unravel for him. And look at that, how damaged it. What's that? What is the bumper doing there?
Don't know, but the wheels it's just gone all wrong, basically. And then
it's barely attached.
Yeah, and then he pulls over and basically goes off the side of the circuit. Now we're jumping up to about lap 3 here because there wasn't a lot that happened between 1 and 2. This is Patrick Messek going off the circuit. That'd be why. How did he drive? Did he drive straight into the wall? That was a little bit, wasn't it? He ended up in the wall.
So, I thought it was just a spin. Actually, we only caught the back end of it live. That is how it happened. He just gets off the brakes there, and he just properly crunched himself into the wall there.
Yeah, he does.
So that's why he had damage. That's why he had to come into pit lane. Dylan Hessling didn't get to the end of the race eventually. See how that happened. Up over the inside curve and bounces into the wall again.
Yeah, if he's going to do it, he seems to want to do him properly, doesn't he? On that one for Dylan. So fair play to him on that. Chase Petterjohn just running down the side of the racetrack. No real dramas and any spins at the top there. So for him, he managed to keep it out of the wall, which was always good on that one. And then we had the checker flag, and that was kind of it, really. As I say, between 1 and 3, there wasn't a lot that happened, but it was all kicking off before and after.
Yes, it was all going on there. So let's tell you about the championship situation now, because we're doing this race long enough after the race that they already know. Although it did say pending stewards' inquiry, so I don't think they're quite sorted out yet ahead of tomorrow. But anyway, Rick Putnam, unsurprisingly, will be leading the way ahead of Curry Stas by 24 points. So pretty much a finish at Duck Week for Putnam will be enough. Stas is only 1 point ahead, though, of Jason Hightower, and only 11 ahead of Evan Krautbrod, only 20 ahead of Dave Mull. So Mull's probably not going to finish second, but Hightower and Krautbrod certainly can in Duck Week at the very end of the season. Then the gaps get quite large further down. In the AMS, Dan Cosick is the championship leader by 8 points it is. You get more points than I thought for winning the race in the AMS. So he got 8 bonus points in the end. Scott Sadler 8 points behind him though. So you get the idea. If Sadler can win the AM race and put a few positions between himself and Cosick, then it's very much still on there in the AM Championship. Putnam though just needing a finish in Duck Week, and he will be champion. It will be AMS will be our focus, I'm sure, through Duck Week on the 4th of December.
Yeah, definitely, and I think. This situation, it just goes to show what they've got to do. We say it so easily every single week. You just got to finish. It's never that easy, is it, really? We've seen multiple endings that have gone completely wrong. So, look, I think it's going to be amazing, and we'll see how they get on here. But, yeah, all to play for still, and only one round to go.
Absolutely, and we'll be live. Well, we'll not be live, but we'll be recorded with Duck Week pretty shortly after the race. In case you don't know what it is, by the way, just to remind you before we go, it is a random car decided 30 minutes prior to the session, the 1 hour practice session on Wednesday evenings that opens at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're unsure as to why we're talking about Duck Week and what it even means, That is it. It's a random free car, so everyone's got it ahead of the final race of the season. And it can't be a drop round either, so that will make it very interesting as well. The fact that you've got to finish, and that's why we keep reiterating for Rick Putnam. But make sure you join us again for the next round of the championship. It will be a very exciting championship finale indeed, and we look forward to it very much, recording it possibly on Thursday, just the night after the race. From myself, though, Ewan and James Parfitt, is goodbye from the Tvail Racing Ring Runners for round 12 here with the sr8. We'll see you in a couple of days' time for Duck Week and the final round of the season. Goodbye for now.
Cool.